Surface Pro 2. Got a few scuff marks here and there, and I'll get back to those scuff marks in a minute, but I just haven't been able to get this fired up and get it charging again. So what I did was, well, first of all, I went online and I discovered you can't buy these power supplies new anymore. I thought if I could get a new power supply, then I could plug it into the computer and determine if it's the computer that's faulty or whether it's the power supply that's faulty. There were a few that were used online I thought I could buy, but I decided no. You know, I was in a bit of a need for a computer at that time, a portable device, so I went straight into town to one of the largest computer stores, if not the largest computer stores in New Zealand, called PB Tech. Walked in there with the whole system, went straight to the service desk, and I asked them, first of all, by any chance would you have one of these power supplies around? And they didn't. The new Surface Pro 2s have a different connector. The Surface Pro 2 connector is magnetized. I think this is not magnetized, but the other end is, so it attaches to the computer. And you can't see it, but this normally glows. From memory, I think it glows white when it's charging. I took it in there, and I'll tell you what he did was he grabbed the tablet and he sort of spun it around like this, looking at it, and he says, oh, it looks like it's had a hard life, and it's pretty old. Yeah, it's been moved around a lot and put into luggage and that, but it's never been dropped. We've taken fairly good care of it, and the fact of the matter, it hardly ever got turned on. Very, very rarely used. It was my wife's computer, and you know, once I got her a phone and everything, she barely used this thing. So I knew the chances of this being faulty was going to be quite slim. It could be that the battery was perhaps, you know, because it hadn't been charged, maybe it had a battery issue. But anyway, the fact that he just sort of blamed the computer and that it was old and that, I thought, nah. And then what sealed my decision in the end, thinking it is the power supply, was, I'll show you what he did. He grabbed the end of this connector and he got a multimeter. There's a multimeter here. And he read voltages and things. And he was getting fluctuating voltages like 0.02, 0.1 and so on. And he passed some comment that when this is attached to the computer would send a signal back to this, telling this to send voltage back to the computer. Maybe he thought when this is connected to the computer, it bridges a couple of these connections, which tells this thing to send the voltage back to the computer. And I thought to myself, you know, when I went away from there, I thought that seems a bit overcomplicated. I mean, why would you complicate things? Having the computer send a signal to the power supply to send the voltage back to the computer. It just didn't seem right to me. And he was saying that the two outer ones was the power supply, like positive or negative or vice versa, one or the other. And that one or two of these was the signals going back to the, coming from the computer to here. Well, if the computer's going to send an electrical signal, would there not be voltage needed back there to begin with, like a chicken and egg situation? Unless, of course, it's doing a bridge situation. I thought, nah, surely not. Anyway, I've sat on this for a couple of months, and I really, really need another computer running, and that computer needs to be mobile. I need to carry it around with me. So I thought, let's have a look at this. I mean, I can't buy it new. I thought if I crack this open, you know, I might damage something. But I mean, I was convinced it was damaged anyway. Just reading voltage from here, thinking there's nothing reading there's no voltage. The guy at the computer store saying, well, it's not going to read voltage until the computer tells it. And I thought, well, it could be that this is, even though it's telling this to send voltage, this could be faulty. So anyway, so here we are a couple of months later, and I've powered everything up and I've done my own voltage checks, and there were no voltages anywhere on here. So then I decided I'm going to crack this thing open, and I got a hammer. Not this particular hammer, but I'll just show you for example. Here's the lid there. Oops, it goes that way. I thought maybe there's a sticker there and there's going to be screws under there, but I was sort of, you know, scratching around here and I couldn't feel indentation for screws. But it looked to me like the obvious place that was going to come off more so than this side. So basically I got a hammer, again not this one, and I just sort of gently tapped around here, and I could hear the change as I was tapping it. The sound was changing, which I thought, oh yeah, it's starting to separate. But unfortunately I sort of tapped it a little bit too hard, pried it a little bit too much. I wasn't really worried really, because I mean I can soon seal that up again. Anyway, I got that off, and you know, done some more checks and whatnot, and I found that the positive and negative here were joined. Well, I didn't know that they were positive and negative really, but the fact that they are the most heaviest wires, one is red, one is black, you know, I presumed that those are going to be power. I mean, you can't imagine those two little ones there being the power connectors. So there's a dead short across there. And I thought, oh, that's good. Anyway, I thought I'm going to cut this. I cut it about there. And the short was not appearing across these two anymore, which told me there must be a short in here. By the way, I had pulled this out of there, so there was still a short in there between, you know, around about there and out here. And trying to strip a piece of wire out of there, I was using these sort of strippers, and it pulled this red wire out. And if you can, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of black there. I don't know what happened to the other end. I sort of lost it, but the other end had a little bit of black there as well. And so this slid out, but it was still showing a short across there. So I eventually pulled the entire thing out and separated everything so I could see visually, and the short is not appearing anymore. I did some voltage checks and tracing and whatnot, and this is what I've come up with. So I should draw the cable there. And there's a representation. So I've determined these two outer connectors are actually negative. These two here are positive. They're joined together. They're joined together. And this grey one goes to there. And there's this sort of a creamy coloured wire. Doesn't seem to go anywhere in here at all. So this power supply, who didn't know, on the tablet there is, let me just double check that. There is one USB port, there it is there. So when it's running on batteries, you can use that USB port. However, if you power this thing up with the power supply, you actually get another USB port there. So obviously, that was what that wire is for. It's the grey one, because USB, at the end of the day, is a serial system. You don't really need that one. Another connector. Anyway, it was all looking pulled that out right, measured some voltage in there, and I've determined that this connector here on the left is positive and this one on the right is negative, and that voltage is there always, which basically I've determined what the service guy said to me at the tech store is 100% wrong in what he was saying. It's a permanent voltage sent to the computer, period, and a data for the USB port. So I'm confident that I'm going to be able to get this thing going. I've pulled out this grommet. I'm going to cut those wires off there just so I can get a clean cut, and I'll put some lubrication in there so I can push that through. I'll re-terminate all this, and let's see if we can get our tablet fired up. All our wires all connected there. Just now I need to plug this in. Now, we should see, can you see that multimeter? Spin that around to 20 volt range. Now from any one of the two outer pins to a neighbouring pin, we should have 12 volts. Negative on, positive going on now. Got 12 volts there, it's great. Just go to the other side, we should have the same, except it'll be negative, which is right. And our data should be in the middle. We've got voltage there. We did not have voltage there before. Let's get our tablet. It's what we're wanting to see. If I remember right, that will glow white once it's attached. Come on, come on. Yes! Check it out, check it out, check it out. Wow, that's exciting.